Wonderment is not a feeling we often have as adults. There is no better word to describe the experience of stepping into Daniel Stark's studio. Daniel has taken the path of a lifelong learner and explored it passionately. His dedication to spirituality, collecting, curating, and creating is something very special. Please join us as we visit his studio at his home that he shares with his partner, Sue, their children, and their beloved pets. I'm Carrie McLeod. Welcome to The Makers.
Were you always creative? Did you always make things?
Yeah, kind of, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Early memories are making things. My earliest memory is watching coving being installed in my grandparents' house. You know what coving is? The
Like
ceiling thing?
plaster?
Yeah, the corner cutting, the cutting of the corners, which isn't a clear miter.
Okay.
It's a very unusual cut. I still struggle to do it. My dad was a sheet metal worker, and we made stuff, sure. Not a lot, but I remember getting books in the library about how to make things out of wood, and I used to hang out with my buddies trying to figure out how to make a sailboat that would ski on the snow over the fields behind our house and stuff with skis and things like that, because I was into sailing, and we were trying to figure that out, and I'm still puzzling over that. I had a Meccano set. You know what that is?
I love Meccano.
Yeah, I made a lot of Meccano, and I always invented things. I mean, invented cable cars that would go across the basement, or snowmobiles out of lamp parts and Meccano sets that would bomb around the snow in the backyard. And I remember Dad, showing me that screws get hot when you take them out of wood from friction and stuff like that. But he divorced when I was young, so at 13, my dad was out of the scene, and my mom died when I was 16. So I was on my own by about 18. I was on my own then. Grade 12, my type A uncle was really pushing hard at the behest of his mom, my grandma, to make me get serious about a career. But I said, I'm going to hitchhike across Canada and look at art colleges.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah. And then when I get back, I'm going to, I've signed up for a course on waitering at Alberta Southern Institute of Technology. Waitering.
Like serving people food?
Yeah, wine. You would learn how to open wine and stuff, apparently, if you took the course. So I had this signed up for
you too.
I think I paid $80 or 20 to take this. I had signed up for this course to, famous thing. I'd be great. I'd be famous if I wasn't a waiter.
Okay.
Like every artist, it's got to be a waiter. So I signed up for the course, and I came back from my cross-country hitchhiking trip, and I stumbled upon a poster for pottery lessons at a local place in Calgary, 1973. And I went up to the place, and the guy was building the chimney of a kiln that he was building, and technically it was just the same kind that Bob's had built now,
Okay.
a car kiln,
Okay.
40 cubic foot car kiln. Neil Liskey was building a studio called the Clay House in 1973 in Calgary, and he had lessons, and he asked me if I'd help him build the kiln. And we built a storefront, and I made money making pots. Started teaching a little bit pottery in these lessons that he offered, and I was a studio apprentice with him. He had graduated from Alberta University and had been doing wood firing. He had wood-fired pots in his studio. And so I started doing pottery. And his wife was a meditator, transcendental meditator. Actually, he was as well. So he was meditating every day, and he's like, well, what's that about? So I started reading philosophy books at that time, transcendental meditation philosophy books. And I got quite into that. So at the same time as I was studying pottery, I was starting to read what you might call Advaitic philosophy, Vedic philosophy, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and thinking deeply about the nature of ego and self. And I started meditating in 1973 in June. And in 1974, New Year's Day, I was in France to become a transcendental meditation teacher for 3 months. So I went with his wife and his son. His young son. We went to France for a meditation course. When I came back, I was a 3M teacher, but I was also a potter. I could make a living doing both. And I got more interested in meditation than pottery because I felt the world needed more consciousness than pots. And I still sort of feel that same way. So I had these two things going. So I had done a bit of pottery, but not a lot. And then I started teaching meditation, and I drifted out of pottery, although I always did a little bit every now and then, and maintained my interest in it and my influences of it. And I taught meditation, and then I got involved as a spiritual teacher and started going to California and started doing fire lookouts and began to get my money from other sources. And I had many interests, not just pottery. Everywhere I went, I would try to make some pots. So I could list 13 different or 14 different studios, so to speak, that I've made in my life. Front porches, back porches, basements, attics. Every lookout, every place I went, I tried to make pots. And then I'd go into town, and Neil would let me fire in his kiln a bit. And then I got into wood firing. At some point, I decided I really want to make wood-fired ware using an ancient style kiln, 16th century style kiln, that made the kind of pottery that was, you might call tea ceremony pottery. And it goes right back to the very start of my studying, is as I was very drawn to what's called the unknown potter, the unknown craftsman, wabi-sabi, the Japanese tradition, which had this funny thing happen in it, funny and not funny. They raided Korea and brought back whole villages, men and women and children, to Japan, put them in valleys, and made them make pots. They're called the Pottery Wars. The shoguns were so obsessed with a certain kind of pottery that was made in Korea that they would use for their tea ceremony, which had changed from a fancy hoity-toity thing to a poverty aesthetic. And as a result, they started to really dig these rice bowls that were made for eating rice by kids in Korea, or poor dysfunctional ware from Korea, which would be all misshapen, kiln accidents, humble, nothing ostentatious. They started to appreciate that, like hugely, such that they would invade Korea, bring back whole villages, put them in Japan, and enslave them and tell them, you make pots or you die.
Wow.
And so they did. And then slowly it became thought of as Japanese pottery. And the tea ceremony had this poverty aesthetic, which is now called wabi-sabi. I think it's jumped the shark, but I did start studying that in the 70s.
I love it.
up our tea.
You'll be mom.
And now that we're in the studio and it's nice and cozy in here, but we'll load up our tea and cheers.
Cheers.
Can we put that back on the warmer?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's how my dad used to pour tea.
It's so whoa.
That's what my dad used to do. It pissed my mom off so much because in the wabi-sabi tradition, they appreciate the taste of clay. They call it aji, and it means the taste of clay. So I went to workshops and learned this, and I mean, I knew that from studying. They like to see twigs and stones, and the clay was special. It's so special in Japan that if you want to build a house in a certain area, they got to excavate 20, 30 feet below to make sure you're not going to use any of that good clay because there's not much of it left. It's so special. But I was at the lookout, and I took clay from here. Axel Ebring was a potter in Vernon. He made pots out of the local clay, and I did as well in 1980. I got a few pieces kicking around of earthenware. And I tried to do it at the lookout, but 95% of what I made broke because it wasn't good for raku. So I always wanted stoneware clay, and I was so frustrated that I couldn't find any. And at the lookout, I used to hike by a little brown spot on the path every day. And I used to think, it's a weird brown spot. It would rain, it would get kind of pretty dark brown, and then it would dry, and it would crack. It would rain and crack. And I was years at this same lookout every summer going by, going, that looks like pretty nice clay, if you ask me. Maybe. And then finally, I put some in a bag, took it back to the lookout, stomped on it with my hiking boots, put it through a window screen, took all, like 50% of it is just shale, rock. Southern Alberta is the coal mining area. So between the seams of coal, there was some clay. And it's beautiful clay. It's the best ever. It's so special that I'm afraid to use it all.
So you started harvesting that.
Yes, that summer I did, and then I went back another summer and got a whole truck full, hiking back and forth from this one. It's just one little hole.
Oh wow.
I mean, it's like, I got a picture of me digging it. It's just one little hole. I got knapsack after knapsack. I go for a hike at night and get some clay.
Oh, wow.
And it's just chocolatey brown, and it's got a few stones in it and grit, and technically it's like, technically it is a lot like a certain clay in Japan called bizen yaki. Bizen rather. Yaki means burned. So this is a tea bowl made out of it, fired in my anagama.
This is from the Alberta.
That's
patch.
the Alberta clay.
And is there a glaze, or is this the clay?
It's wood
With
ash.
the wood ash.
It's wood ash. This is why the clay is important, is because you're looking at the clay.
That's amazing.
You're not covering it with glaze. You're looking at it.
And
so,
it's just where the wood and the fire hits that there's.
Yeah. So this green drip here is melted wood ash.
Oh wow. And
it's sealed. It's fired high enough to be sealed. These are seashells to keep it from sticking to the shelf. That's the remain of a seashell.
Oh wow.
So it was sitting on its side, like
That's
this.
Why it's slumped a
The
bit.
fire went through. The ash builds up on the top and the bottom and melts into that green. And it shows the fire. And it shows the stones, and it shows the clay, and it shows the finger marks. It's not covered in glaze.
I love that.
So that would be my most likely candidate for a tea bowl, close to a formal Japanese style tea bowl that I've done. They actually have all these rules for Japanese tea bowls. They have to be a certain size, and a dip in the bottom, and a nice foot, and etc., etc. And I don't usually make exactly what they are. So what Westerners start to call tea bowls is something different.
That's beautiful. Then.
So that's
really
the
special.
mountain clay from the lookout. And sometimes I put glaze inside. Well, this will be the hot side, and this is the cold side. And
So when you fire up at Silver Star, this is kind of.
yeah, that's from the Silver Star firing.
Yeah,
So is this.
for that.
And this has glaze on it, except for there.
Okay, yeah, so it doesn't stick. To
Yeah, and so this is in the back of the kiln. I've only fired it a couple times. 4 times, 5 maybe.
Hmm.
I'm not like a big shot producing potter. But this is in the back, and this is blue-ish. It's a bluish, and that's very rare. Blue Shino is very rare.
And you painted that on, or is that like a wax resist?
That's some more white mud from the road at the fire lookout.
No way.
Like there was brown mud in one area, and then I'd hike another road and go, hey, what's that white? That white stuff looks like possibly good mud. And so I somewhere have a bucket. I don't think I labeled it well enough. And clay is all different. So I squirted that on and
It's beautiful.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, this is really special.
And then just unglazed, it's just kind of brown, but so Westerners aren't so fond of that, but for sake.
Well, for eating and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I think it's lovely. Well, yeah,
Melted
you have a
ash.
set.
Yeah, they were like
You didn't
small
make much, but
small
there's
little
so much.
testers. Well, I don't have much left,
It's beautiful.
The joke about it was the first firings, things came out and they were sold right away.
Mm.
Because of that grant
Mm-hmm.
and because life in general, we had to make some money.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, this is a piece that I forgot about. I think it's Vernon clay, but a hiker came up to visit me at the lookout, and I started talking to him, and afterwards I was so wiped out, I went to lay down, and I went, hey, I left a piece in my kiln. So I went running out to the kiln, and this Vernon clay was getting very, very hot, and actually was starting to like get bubbles inside, like a melted marshmallow or something. and so this is very unusual.
That is really cool.
Like you might not want to
almost
use it
looks
to liquid, but for an incense bowl, you put sand in and
Yeah.
incense and stuff.
Well, it almost looks like cast iron, like the way it's gone.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And then there's that one there, just on the corner.
Tiny one?
Yeah, you see the
Oh my gosh.
different kind of effects of fire.
Yeah, that has everything going on.
So
So the darker places would be where the flame lit.
that's downstream, down fire. This is hot fire, hot side, and the cool side.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's not glazed except by the melted minerals of wood ash.
So is your fire just below? Like I've just seen different kinds of kilns lately.
Yeah.
So the fire's just or is it like you're stoking it to the side? You're putting the fire on the side and there's a brick wall.
It's a tube that's laying on the ground at a 15-degree angle. It's like it's 12 feet long. And then a chimney that goes another 12 feet up. And so that you light a fire in the first 3 feet and you throw the wood in through a hole. Boom, boom, boom. It falls down, builds up a huge pile of coals. The air goes through that. Fire goes through the entire kiln and comes out 25 feet later out the back.
Ah.
So fire goes through the whole kiln in pathways around pots.
So it
around
different
here,
places.
goes around here, bounces off the other one, and it goes around, and it leaves its mark after having done so that you can see on the pot. So it's fire. It's not just electrical heat. It's not frustrated electrons. It's fire.
That's
So
very cool.
when pottery people talk about the elements of fire and earth and water, etc., this has the element of fire in it. Whereas an electric kiln, well, yeah, I don't know, not the same. Anyway, I worked at a place in Seattle for a while making sinks for houses.
Okay, like that.
Yeah, like handmade pottery sinks
Oh, that's
and
cool.
tiles. In the showroom, we had 100 handmade sinks that we glazed with electric glazes, because that's what matches toilets and everything, right? In fact, there was a couple pottery wood-fired pieces in there. Couldn't sell them. I was really into wood firing still, and my boss knew that, and he bought me books on, Chinese pottery, and he always used to joke about it with me and stuff, but he understood that I was into that.
That's cool.
So he supported me kind of prodded me along. And that was when it was in 1985 is when a guy came to the local pottery center and gave a big lecture about this big, huge anagama he'd built in New Jersey. This Japanese guy built this huge 50-foot one in New Jersey. And I have a good friend, a potter friend who I really like a lot, John Chalk, who had been there and helped fire it. He's from Alberta, and he's part of the wood firing scene in Alberta for many years. And a great writer, great ceramic artist.
Mm.
And there's articles about it in pottery magazines about this kiln, and then this guy came and did a big lecture about how he built it and everything. And I was so inspired that I became really wanted to do that. Okay, so I got the grant to build the kiln. I built the kiln. I couldn't quite get it going as a business. I fell back to my lookout work. I maybe took one summer off, and I fell back to being a lookout again. So I would go to work on the lookouts. I'd come back, it'd be very cold in the winter, difficult.
Fire.
Just to be. And I fired one winter in January by myself and a few other people. But I just got into other things and haven't fired much since, really. And then mid-90s, I had certain physical things started happening to me. Started to fall down when I was using my chainsaw, and started to feel like I was drunk when I was walking up the road at night in the snow. And that would be the start of MS. Well, I had MS start in the mid-90s. And then I met Sue, and we started having kids year 2000. Right around 2000, it became obvious something was a bit odd. And I was having trouble. I was raising the kids up at the cabin in the woods, no running water, no electricity, we had a generator. And I was a stay-at-home dad. We didn't know how we were going to make a living. So it's frightening. Kind of how, I don't know. I have no idea. I was a fire lookout, and I didn't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
So I was a stay-at-home dad. Sue said, "Oh, well, don't worry, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out." Very optimistic. And so I was up there doing that, going along, making sawmill. Had a sawmill. Had a model of how to make the house bigger and better, etc. But then I got formally diagnosed with MS. And then everybody in the family, particularly, everybody in the family, oh, you can't live here anymore. You have to move to town because you might not be around long, and you might need a wheelchair, and you can't live here. So I had no cashola or anything like that. As per my career planner studies, I did do some career planning courses and stuff, and they would always go, well, you have one skill, and that is you get by on not much. You seem to get by. I said, I don't know what skills that actually, that's a job skill you got?
That's resourceful.
Yeah, that's what the guy said, And I got into music, and I used to drum jam, which became something else over many years. When the first African drummers came here to the valley to teach workshops, I was part of it. And I learned how to make drums.
Oh.
And I drummed for dance classes in Vernon.
Like djembe drums?
Djembe drums and soy sauce barrel drums.
Oh.
Like, I learned how to make drums and other instruments. So I just made all sorts of stuff. And I would be hauling it all over, and we'd be doing drum jams up at the cabin in yurts, and then it became a whole thing, and all these people learning it and all that kind of stuff. But I was totally into improvising. And I had started playing sarod when I started the fire lookouts in 17. I had started playing this East Indian instrument as well. And always had that at the lookout too. And so I started putting that into my music. It's a beautiful piece of music. And that's sort of now my legacy thing. I just want to record this one piece well and put it out there for anybody to use and have.
The days go by quickly in this chaotic world, and I'm always amazed how Daniel is able to somehow slow time and stay focused on the things that truly fascinate him. A short visit with Daniel always opens up a door of curiosity that makes you want to plan another visit. In his studio, there is a childlike twinkle in his eye as he moves amongst his treasures and tells their stories. I think it's a gift and also a testament to his lifelong devotion to mindfulness. Thank you for joining us for this segment of The Makers.